The world is holding its breath. In capitals across the globe, leaders and citizens alike are gripped by a sense of uncertainty, as the balance of power that has defined the nuclear age begins to shift in ways few could have predicted. For decades, nuclear stability meant a tense standoff between the United States and Russia, two superpowers bound by treaties and a shared fear of mutual destruction. The world watched as these giants navigated crises, signed arms control agreements, and maintained a fragile peace through deterrence. But today, that old map is being redrawn. The familiar lines of the past are blurring, and new players are stepping onto the stage, challenging the old order and forcing a global reassessment of what nuclear security really means. China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, forcing every nation to reconsider its security. No longer content to remain a distant third, China's ambitions are reshaping the strategic landscape, compelling both allies and rivals to rethink their assumptions. This isn't a minor upgrade. It's one of the most significant and rapid nuclear buildups in modern history. The scale and speed of China's efforts have caught many by surprise, raising urgent questions about intentions and future risks. China's warhead count has surged past 600, a dramatic acceleration that signals a fundamental shift in Beijing's strategy. This growth is not just about numbers, it's about changing the rules of the game and altering the global balance of power. The world now faces a new, unpredictable tripolar nuclear order, with three major powers, each with its own anxieties and calculations. The old certainties are gone, replaced by a complex web of rivalries and uneasy alliances. Understanding this shift is critical, not just for generals and politicians, but for the safety of our interconnected world. The choices made today will shape the future for generations, affecting everything from international diplomacy to the safety of ordinary people everywhere. The decisions made now could lead us toward instability or a new path to security. In this new nuclear reality, vigilance, dialogue, and cooperation are more important than ever before. To truly grasp the scale of what's happening, you have to look at the numbers, because they tell a story of transformation that's hard to ignore. Not long ago, China's nuclear arsenal was modest. Just a few years back, their stockpile hovered in the low 200s, a fraction of the world's largest nuclear powers. But by early 2023, that number had already doubled, surging past 400 warheads, signaling a dramatic shift in China's nuclear ambitions. And now, in just a short span, China's arsenal has soared past 600 warheads, with no signs of slowing down. This isn't a slow, incremental buildup. It's an exponential leap, a pace of growth that's unprecedented in the nuclear age. While the United States and Russia still possess the world's largest arsenals, each with over 5,000 warheads, it's China's rapid acceleration that's causing alarm among global leaders and security experts. China is constructing hundreds of new missile silos across remote regions, a clear sign of its intent to expand and harden its nuclear forces. At the same time, it's modernizing every leg of its nuclear triad, on land, at sea, and in the air, deploying advanced submarines, bombers, and mobile missile launchers. This sweeping modernization makes China's arsenal not only larger, but also more survivable, flexible, and capable of reaching targets across the globe. For decades, China insisted it maintained only a lean and effective nuclear deterrent, focused on minimum retaliation rather than parity with superpowers. But now, projections suggest China could possess over 1,000 warheads by 2030, a tenfold increase in just 2 decades, and a transformation that would put it on par with the world's nuclear giants. If that happens, China would become a true nuclear peer to the US and Russia, fundamentally reshaping the global balance of power and the future of arms control. The world is entering a new, more crowded, and far more complex nuclear era, one where old assumptions no longer hold. The sheer speed and ambition of China's nuclear buildup have taken governments, analysts, and the international community by complete surprise, forcing everyone to rethink what comes next. Why is China expanding its nuclear arsenal now? The answer is a mix of threat perception, ambition, and strategy. Beijing sees a hostile security environment, US military power, missile defenses, and alliances in the Indo-Pacific. Chinese strategists worry their older arsenal might not survive a first strike, making deterrence unreliable. By building more silos and mobile systems, China aims to guarantee it can retaliate after any attack, assured retaliation. Regional tensions, especially over Taiwan, also drive this buildup. A stronger arsenal complicates US intervention. nuclear strength gives China more freedom to pursue its ambitions without fear of direct intervention. President Xi's vision of national rejuvenation includes great power status, and that means a world-class nuclear force. For Beijing, a large arsenal is about security, prestige, and global influence. China wants to be taken seriously on the world stage. For decades, China's no-first-use policy promised it would never use nuclear weapons first. This pledge reassured neighbors and set China apart from other nuclear powers. But China's massive buildup is raising doubts. Does no-first use still make sense for a country with a force this large and modern? Some analysts see signs that China's doctrine may be shifting, at least unofficially. Military writings discuss scenarios where nuclear weapons might be used to de-escalate a losing conflict. The scale and sophistication of China's arsenal now create uncertainty and anxiety for its rivals. The world is left questioning whether China's promise will hold in a crisis. China's rapid nuclear surge has triggered global alarm, sending shockwaves through the international community. The scale and speed of China's buildup have caught many by surprise, raising urgent questions about the future of global security and the balance of power. In Washington, military and policy planners now face an unprecedented challenge. For the first time in history, the United States must contend with two peer nuclear rivals, China and Russia, at once. This new reality complicates both deterrence strategies and the prospects for future arms control agreements, forcing American leaders to rethink decades-old doctrines. The U.S. is responding by accelerating its own nuclear modernization programs, investing in new delivery systems and warhead upgrades. Debates are intensifying in Congress and among defense experts over whether America's current arsenal is sufficient to deter both Russia and China simultaneously, or if a significant expansion is needed. Russia, meanwhile, sees opportunity in a distracted America but is also wary. Moscow is concerned about losing its status as the world's second nuclear power and is closely monitoring China's growing capabilities, which could one day rival its own. As China's arsenal expands, the relationship between Moscow and Beijing could shift from cooperation to competition, especially in regions where their interests overlap or even clash, such as Central Asia and the Arctic. In Europe, leaders who once focused almost exclusively on the Russian threat are now increasingly worried about China's long-range missile capabilities. The credibility of the U.S. nuclear umbrella, which has underpinned European security for decades, is being questioned as the global nuclear landscape grows more complex. The UK and France, as Europe's own nuclear powers, are watching these developments with growing concern. They see China's buildup not just as a regional issue, but as a direct challenge to the post-war order and the stability of the global non-proliferation regime. International arms control bodies are deeply concerned. China's expansion is happening outside any existing treaty framework, making it difficult to predict or manage. Experts warn that without new agreements, the risk of miscalculation or arms races will only grow. Existing agreements like New START, which limit US and Russian arsenals, do not include China. As Beijing's arsenal grows, its argument for exclusion is losing credibility, and pressure is mounting for China to join future negotiations. The world now faces the urgent challenge of bringing China into a new arms control framework, one that reflects today's multipolar nuclear reality and can help prevent a new era of dangerous competition. The stakes for global stability have never been higher. Every major power is recalibrating its strategy, and the risk of misunderstanding or escalation is growing. In this new era, diplomacy must adapt quickly. Only through renewed dialogue, creative thinking, and international cooperation can the world hope to manage the risks of a rapidly changing nuclear landscape. Nowhere is China's nuclear expansion felt more acutely than in the Indo-Pacific. India, a nuclear rival with a disputed border, is modernizing its own arsenal in response. Japan, long reliant on the US nuclear umbrella, now questions its security guarantees and debates new defense options. South Korea, already facing North Korea, must now factor in a more powerful China. Australia is deepening its alliance with the US and UK, acquiring nuclear-powered submarines through AUKUS. Southeast Asian nations are caught between economic ties to China and growing security fears. The region is becoming more militarized and anxious, with each move by China prompting countermeasures from its neighbors. This security dilemma creates a cycle of mistrust and arms buildups. The Indo-Pacific is now one of the world's most dangerous flashpoints. A single miscalculation could have devastating global consequences. China's expansion risks triggering a new three-way global arms race. Unlike the US-Soviet rivalry, this competition is exponentially more complex and unstable. Each nation must now calculate its needs against two rivals, fueling a classic action-reaction cycle. The US and Russia are modernizing their arsenals. China is racing to catch up. This arms race diverts resources from urgent global needs and raises the risk of catastrophic miscalculation. New technologies, like hypersonic missiles and tactical nuclear weapons, blur the line between conventional and nuclear war. The nuclear taboo is at risk. Even a small use could spiral into all-out conflict. Strategic stability is eroding as missile defenses and first strike capabilities advance. The pressure to use it or lose it grows, making crises more dangerous. The world is entering uncharted and perilous territory. As if a three-way arms race weren't enough, artificial intelligence is adding a new layer of risk. AI promises faster, more accurate warning systems, but also brings immense dangers. There's growing fear that decisions to launch nuclear weapons could be delegated to autonomous systems, removing human judgment. AI systems are vulnerable to hacking and manipulation, raising the risk of accidental war. Their black box nature means even designers can't always predict their decisions. With all three powers racing to deploy AI, safety may be sacrificed for speed. Autonomous systems could escalate a crisis before leaders can intervene. The speed of AI could outpace diplomacy, making the world less safe. The world stands at a crossroads: unchecked arms racing or renewed diplomacy. Open, reliable communication between the US, Russia, and China is essential to prevent disaster. A new hotline system, including Beijing, could help manage crises. The ultimate goal is to bring China into a new arms control framework, no easy task but vital. Initial steps could include informal talks on transparency, doctrine, and AI risks. The international community must also push for non-proliferation and revitalize treaties. The future of peace depends on whether the major powers see only rivalry or recognize their shared interest in avoiding catastrophe. China's rise as a nuclear power is a fact. The challenge is managing it wisely. The path forward demands courage, vision, and dialogue, even with rivals. The stakes are too high for silence and suspicion. The clock is ticking.